we know they're capable of greatness, but for the sake of their reputation, in some cases their career, everything's on the line for these 10 NBA players next season. So today I'll predict if each of them will bounce back and show you why it's crucial for them to regain form. Quick heads up, players who were injured for last year alone won't be included on this list, so Anthony Davis, Jaren Jackson Jr., Jamal Murray, Jaylen Brown, and Mike Conley will be left off today's list. The latest drama surrounding the 6'10" point guard Ben Simmons details that the relationship between the Aussie and head coach Doc Rivers suffered significant damage that some believe is irreparable. Doc Rivers had this response when asked if Simmons could be a starter on a championship team.
David, I don't know that question or the answer to that right now.
Ben faced a ton of criticism for passing up wide open driving lanes and shooting a
blasphemous
league worst 34% from the free throw line. As much as fans tore him to shreds, we all know the former #1 pick is better than this. Ben has to trust his slashing ability more because, with full confidence, the man is tough to stop. However, Ben's inability to throw a fish in the ocean along with his general passivity hurt the Sixers' offense last year. There's a lot of time for him at age 25, but while I'd like to say he'll get it together for next year, nothing leaves me to believe he'll do so. The NBA record holder for three-pointers made in a single game is set to return for the 2022 season. Klay Thompson's fellow Splash brother Steph said yesterday, quote, "With the two guys we drafted and hopefully getting Klay back as soon as possible, we have full confidence we are still that team. We obviously have to go out there and prove it, but that's the kind of vibe right now, and we're just trying to stay patient with it." Following 3 championships in 5 years, the NBA's former powerhouse has gone 2 straight years without making the playoffs. Durant moving on to the Nets and Thompson going through 2 major surgeries, Steph had to put the team on his back. But Curry's right about what he said yesterday. If Klay gets back and is providing the Warriors his elite two-way impact again, then they'll be right back at the top of the West. I'm predicting Thompson struggles at first given he's had 2 years off and 2 traumatic injuries to recover from, but once he gets a few weeks of playing time under his belt, I expect him to find his footing and ultimately bounce back. For a player who averaged 20 points in the finals 2 years ago, the season that Pascal Siacom had last year was underwhelming. It was a season filled with missed game winners, beef with his head coach Nick Nurse, and fines from the Raptor front office. The man looked like the letters S and P were taken out of spicy, looking unfit to be the Raptors' #1 scorer. 21-7-4 isn't a bad stat line whatsoever, but taking over 4 threes per game and knocking down only 29% of them hurt Toronto's offense. Siakam was at his best when he was Kawhi's right-hand man, and overall the 2019 season was the definition of Spice season. After winning the Most Improved Player of the Year, in the playoffs, Siakam thrived off the momentum of the rowdy Raptor crowd and left no doubts as to whether or not he was a future star. But after a few seasons passed, opposing defenses figured out that all Siakam had in his game was a Beyblade-esque spin move. He could still get out in transition and occasionally hit some threes, but Siakam's play fell off in the bubble, specifically in the playoffs, and he didn't enter the next season with a more well-rounded offensive game. In 2022, the question will be answered of whether or not Siakam's a real star. I've been a big fan of him in previous videos, but is he purely spin moves and energy, or can he be a legit go-to guy that leads you deep into the playoffs? Don't call Marvin Bagley III a bust just yet. I'm holding out hope that he'll finally bring his game to the next level in 2022. Sacktown's big man broke his hand and only played 43 of 72 games for the Kings. After the trade deadline came and went, it was unclear if Bagley would return to the lineup, but return he did, playing 6 games in early May, and those 6 games included his best performance yet, a 31-point, 12-rebound game against the Indiana Pacers, in which he dominated the first half. That performance, however, was followed up by a 4-point and 2-rebound dud against the Spurs, in a must-win game. In his next game, he suffered a groin injury that knocked him out for the final 4 games of the year. Most concerning has been his defense. Bagley continued to be one of the worst defenders in the entire league. Sacramento's league worst defense was even worse when Bagley was on the floor. The 22-year-old's numbers in his first 3 years of his career haven't developed. Based off his questionable defensive value and lack of growth, I doubt Marvin bounces back next season, but there's still a ton of time for him. Maybe you've never heard of him, but Jonathan Isaac's playing style for his size makes him a perfect match for the modern NBA. Forwards in today's game are expected to have a handle with revolutionary wings like Giannis and Durant, setting the standard. Orlando's number 6 pick from 2017 was supposed to follow in the footsteps of those guys and blossom into a superstar for the Magic. However, he missed all of this past season after tragically tearing his ACL in the bubble. Also, he missed over half of the 2019-20 season with hamstring and back injuries. To avoid injury, Isaacs has to limit his off-balance drives to the basket, but the man's so damn talented. However, as much as I think he has a ton of potential, I fear the injuries could affect him, so Isaacs may not bounce back. Russell's numbers haven't been the problem for him. Deloadings failed to play 50 games in each of the last 2 seasons. If he could stay healthy throughout the course of 82 games, then the Timberwolves would have 3 legit go-to guys in Karl-Anthony Towns, DAngelo Russell, and hopefully Anthony Edwards, assuming he doesn't have a sophomore slump. Russell's reputation will be cemented as injury-prone without staying on the floor in Minneapolis for 2021-22. When your best players get hurt, there's no excuses. This is a big boy league, and teams will get stepped on if they don't adapt a next man up mentality. Luckily for Brooklyn, Kevin Durant's legendary performances saved them from getting stomped on, but there's no getting around the fact that Joe Harris let the team down against the Milwaukee Bucks, seeing his 3-point percentage fall off by 20 points from the first round. Since Harris has been one of the best deep-range marksmen for the past half-decade, I see him regaining form in 2022. Also, with the Nets' big 3 healthy, he'll see a lot less defensive pressure in the later rounds. Wizards center Thomas Bryant seems like just another name among many in the NBA, but I've got higher expectations for him than most people would, because his breakthrough season in 2018-19 with the Wizards and beastly start to the 2019-20 season hasn't slipped my mind. Following a season where he sat at the end of the Laker bench during his rookie year in 2017, the versatile 6'10", 248-pound center showed what he was made of after being traded to Washington. From the ability to pop out and shoot 3-pointers, to protecting the paint on the other end and rebounding like a phenom, Bryant checks every box of the modern-day NBA center. Problem is, a foot injury midway through the 2020 season and a left knee injury in 2021 have held Bryant to under 56 games combined over the last 2 years. If Bryant doesn't bounce back, he'll be forever looked at as injury-prone, so it's crucial he stays on the floor. I have belief that he will. I think he has a big year in 2022. The bubble in Orlando saw Jimmy Buckets solidify himself among everyone as one of the best two-way players in basketball, if they didn't already know before that. So there's nothing left to prove for the man after he led Miami to the finals. But no superstar gets a pass for being this inefficient in any playoff run. The 2021 playoffs were quick for the Heat, as they were swept handedly by the Milwaukee Bucks. One of the reasons for that was Butler getting shut down. Jimmy was the 3rd leading scorer on his team behind Dragic and Adebayo, averaging just 14.1 points per game, shooting 30.1% from the field and a measly 18.1% from three-point range. He and Rachel Nichols were trending on Twitter multiple times in the offseason, so all around, Butler needs to bounce back. And given how talented and mentally tough he is, I'm sure he will. Porzingis headlined my top 6 chokers in the 2021 playoffs video, and that's because he failed to be a viable second option next to Luka. Kristaps is evidently jealous of the Slovenian sensation, as Porzingis came out and said recently that he's frustrated being the second fiddle to Doncic. It's become a well-known fact that Kristaps and Luka don't like each other very much. However, those comments from the Unicorn about his role were pretty weird considering his lowly performance in 2021's playoffs. On an average of 33.4 minutes in the Mavs' first-round series against the Clippers, the 7-footer grabbed 5 rebounds and scored 13 points per game, shot 29% from three-point range, and 59% from the charity stripe. Anything that gets in the way of the goal to satisfy Luka to the fullest extent will piss off the Mavs front office, so once his value raises a bit, look for the Mavs to put Kristaps on the trading block. I don't know if Kristaps kept the same work ethic that he had in his early years with the Knicks. Maybe it's just the injuries, but I don't think he bounces back. Subscribe to the channel and leave a like on the video if you enjoyed. I post every single day, or at least I try to. I'm going to take some days off here and there, but let me know who isn't or is going to bounce back in the comments. Hope you have a great one. D-Flow signing off.